a different form of hustle, but it's still hustle culture. Being stuck in the middle of a tunnel and can't email my teacher that, hey, I might be a few minutes late.
Hello?
Sup my dudes, and welcome back to my channel, and hello if you're new. My name is Elijah, you can call me Lay, and good morning. In this video, I'm gonna talk about things I wish I knew before starting to college. If you don't know, I am a student that goes to the Fashion Institute of Technology. I am a rising junior. For my associates, I did advertising and marketing communication, and for my bachelor's, I'm continuing to do cosmetic and fragrance marketing, which, if you don't know what that is, it's probably one of the harder business majors to get into because it's very small and very selective. If you're like interested in cosmetics and stuff like that, check out my last college video that I kind of talk about that a lot more, but this video I wanted to be very general and just things I wish I knew before starting college. There's so many things that I'm going into as a rising junior that I didn't think about or like know about a lot. The first thing I wish I knew before starting college is honestly like how much things you should consider when going to college, because the thing is, me personally, I always knew I wanted to go where I'm going. So that's why high school, it was kind of hard for me. Everyone else was kind of applying to schools more towards STEM and being a lawyer, like stuff like that that are considered like really practical. Even though I was in a college preparatory school, the stuff that I was mostly learning, I didn't want to do. It wasn't that I was bad at it, it's just it didn't heavily suit my interest. So I always knew I wanted to go to FIT, but I never thought about how lucky I was to want to have like my dream school be one of my best options, because after like applying to different schools, not because I really wanted to go to those schools, but just to have backup plans and stuff like that, FIT just was the best plan for me. For location reasons, for financial reasons, it was just the best. Those are some things people really should consider, because yes, college is expensive, but like it's possible for it to be manageable for you. But it's all about knowing like what you want to do, because I personally commute. There are kind of like hardships with commuting, because obviously being in the city, commuting is so much different than if you were like in a more rural type area. So my commute, it's honestly painful, is an hour and 10 minutes on a good day. And I say on a good day meaning no delays with the train, no issues with the train, no being stuck in the middle of a tunnel and can't email my teacher that, hey, I might be a few minutes late. Yes, that's a personal struggle of commuting. So when you're a commuter in the city, you gotta be really willing to wake up or have a schedule where it just best suits you. Like personally, I wouldn't want to take classes past 5 p.m. because after that, it would be an hour and 10 minutes to go home. Again, good day without any issues. Basically, if I had a class that ended at 5, I wouldn't get home until close to 7. Like either a few minutes before 7 or a little bit after 7, depending on how fast I walk. In the winters, on rainy days, you know how disgusting that is, because it's that train ride plus a, I don't know, 15-20 minute walk to my house. Commuting is definitely a struggle, but I also felt like it was better for me. As a freshman, there are 3 types of dorms. There's one that's traditional dorm and co-ed. It's like one of those where you have like the communal showers and stuff like that. The other one is pretty similar, except for it's not co-ed. It's all girls. The the last one is apartment style, where you have your own individual bathrooms in the dorm. Of course, like, you share with your roommates, but like, it's basically more private, and you also get your own kitchen. But no matter the style of dorm you have, you still have to select a meal plan. You can even select like the smallest size meal plan, and it would still be like not worth it. Because I remember with my friends who dormed, because pretty much all my friends were not commuters, so with my friends who dormed, they would be like, I have so much money left on my meal card that it feels like a waste, you know, because it isn't something you just add on. You have to like have a select plan and a certain amount on it. So yeah, for them it felt like a waste of money, because also they went out a few times, or if they weren't going out, they would buy things to cook in, like at Trader Joe's. So basically, I feel like if you're dorming, it's very expensive, and you kind of need to know how to like manage things. Like, you need to know when to go out, you need to know when it's better to save, you need to know like what's the best thing to do for the day, you know. So for me as a commuter, I would never really have to worry about that. For me, it would be more like, I'm limited with selecting classes, and mostly because I would never take a train by myself at night. There are weirdos, and no, I would not do that. That is not me, not I, and I hate taking a train by myself regardless, even in daytime. My first semester was my mistake of selecting at 8 a.m. Never again. So now the earliest I do is 9, and the latest I do is like ending with a 5 o'clock, maybe, yeah, 5 o'clock class. The only time I had like a 3 to 6 o'clock class was when I was home, and I know that I would not ever want to do that going back in person. So there's that. Just keep in mind considerations like what you want to do, like whether you want to dorm or commute. Keep in mind that about location, because location wise, you may not have a lot of food options. Like being in NYC, you do have a lot of food options. They're expensive, some of them are expensive, but you still get more food options. And consider like how you're getting there. If you do commute, like if you're able to drive, if you're taking a bus or a train or whatever. It's honestly just dependent on those things, and then figure out which one is the best. Because at least if you live off campus, you don't have to really worry about certain things. Like, you don't have to like have more permission. Like, I feel like when you dorm, there's a lot more rules that you have to abide by, where apartment there's, or like living off campus, there's a lot more freedom. For my next point, that's kind of leading off of talking about the things important. One thing that's a huge thing that I can't stress enough is choosing a place kind of based off of the type of social culture you like. If you know FIT is not really a party school. Like, I feel like people who go to FIT, they're either like people who are very ambitious, and it's more of a hustle culture, which I'm not surprised, because when you're in New York, I feel like hustle type culture is very common. When you go to FIT, you're either really trying to succeed at business or whatever, or designing whatever you came there to do, or you're there to be an influencer, which is a different form of hustle, but it's still hustle culture. And I do feel like hustle culture is very prominent in FIT, which is why like FIT really doesn't have the best rep for social culture. A lot of people, like the YouTube videos I watch, say like people at FIT aren't that friendly, this and that, but I also feel like it depends on your vibe too. If you want to be the type of person like sororities, type parties, that type of stuff, FIT doesn't really have that. As for like the friendliness, like, no offense, like New Yorkers are not, okay, friendliness, it depends. Like, I feel like people are very like to themselves, or they have their group of friends if they dorm. There's no real in between about that. But that personally doesn't bother me because I'm more introverted anyways. But if you're like a huge extrovert and more of the party, like frat party type scene type, it probably will bother you. Some people go to college and because of like TV shows and movies and stuff like that, they have like this vision of what college is supposed to be like. Some people want that for college, but not everyone does. So just knowing your biases and knowing like what would make you comfortable should be really important to you. This one I really want to talk about. So your path isn't linear. When I wanted to go to FIT, like growing up, I wanted to be a fashion designer. Obviously I'm not. Then in high school, when there was kind of like this shift, I said I wanted to be a fashion journalist. Took journalism, hated it. Okay, word of advice, I'm just gonna say I don't think FIT is the best place for journalism, but a lot of other things, yeah, but specifically journalism, no. Unless you get very lucky, because there's one teacher I heard that's really good. I just didn't have the fortune of her being a journalism teacher when I was taking journalism. So given that stance, I did not get lucky with journalism, and that's what I came there for. So yeah, I went in for advertising, marketing, communications to be a fashion journalist because journalism is part of the communications aspect. I never knew nothing about marketing. Like I didn't even know marketing was a career. Advertising, obviously I did know because ads exist, and I knew like, oh, someone had to make them. But I would never think of advertisement as a possible career path. And I did not know marketing existed. But my first semester, I fell completely in love with marketing, but then that's when I was starting to have like wavering doubts, like, oh, I don't know if I should do marketing or if I should do journalism still, because I still really like journalism, I love writing. Needless to say, second semester I figured out very quickly. I really enjoy marketing now. And I feel like I spend more time, especially in high school, I developed a love for makeup, cosmetics, and I'm so into skincare. So I felt like going to cosmetic and fragrance marketing would be a better thing for me because it's more focused on products as opposed to things at random. And my mom is calling. 1 second. I didn't expect to go back to a major where it's gonna be very science heavy, and I'm kind of like nervous about that. Like I wasn't bad at science, I just wasn't the greatest at chem specifically, and my major, ironically enough, has a lot of chem. I was pretty much better at earth science. I don't want to talk about physics. Like I got, I think, high 80s in physics. Chem was like low 90s, but at my standards, that's like not good enough for me. And that's only because I took chem kind of like twice. So I took Regents Chem and then college chem. So I got better in college chem, but I haven't taken that since 11th grade. So I don't remember anything about chemistry, and I didn't think like, oh, I would be doing it again. So it's just kind of scary. But basically what I'm trying to say is expect the unexpected. You don't know what you're gonna end up liking. Some schools let you go in undecided. FIT is not one of those schools. I think the best thing you can do when it comes to selecting schools, and if you are thinking about going to FIT, is choosing a major that's kind of broad, or at least enough to suit your interest. Like AMC, I think, is the most broad out of the majors, and it's just like you can't go wrong with it, you know? So FBM, I feel like, from what I know, it's very math heavy. That's what I've heard. Obviously, I don't take their courses, but you can just look up the courses yourself and determine like, okay, does that sound interesting to you? But AMC is very, very general. A lot of the classes you have, I feel like you can figure out your interests through AMC. Okay, next, minors. are so great for either career development or personal development. I'm minoring in, I think, 2 to 3 minors. Like, one of them I haven't fully decided on. I kind of want to take a class to decide if I should go into that. But as of right now, I'm minoring in design thinking, and I have 2 more classes left to take until I can complete that minor. And I want to minor in integrative wellness, and I kind of took like one of the classes that could cover it. Design thinking is very good because it's basically was so good for my career development, and a lot of the reasons why I have my internship now is because of design thinking, which I'll explain in my next point. But design thinking, it's kind of like a more creative step to like advertising, marketing, communications is very like, it's creative but not creative, you know? Like, it's not like you're making actual things all the time. Like, sometimes you do, it depends on the class and depends on the teacher, but a lot of times it's more written work or like stuff like that. But design thinking, it kind of allows you to understand the more creative side of businesses. So having like that thing where you understand business, like the process of advertising and stuff like that. Like, I'm gonna go based off my internship where they have different departments. Like, one side is like the leaders, where they are the ones who kind of talk to the clients, go on calls and stuff like that. Then there's more of the strategic data side where you analyze the data, and then there's the creative side. So for example, if you were thinking about going into the leadership side or the data side, taking a class like design thinking kind of opens up like, yeah, you can understand different parts of business in a way where you can be a creative, you can understand what the creative does and enhance like your work with them. So I feel like it's very good, and also it allowed me to create a portfolio for myself, which I'll get into. On the other hand, integrative wellness, I want to take that because not only will it be beneficial to me, like the courses, and I would probably learn how to do things better, because for future reference, I want to take meditation, and next semester I'm taking stress management, and I already took jazz dance, and I really did love taking jazz as a dance class, even though that wasn't the one, because I want to do Afro-Caribbean, but it just wasn't available when I needed it. So I took jazz, and having that creative outlet, and it was like very interesting to express myself that way. And I feel like it made me remember how much I do love things like dance and stuff like that. That will be very good for personal development, and as you may know, like, I love writing about personal development and stuff like that, and I feel like it would add more that I can share with other people later on. Last one, but it kind of builds off of the last point where I was talking about my portfolio. I worked one internship in the spring, like towards the end of spring, that just ended now, like in June, but technically it kind of went a little over, and we're having a kind of like meet up in the office as a going away for people who work during the spring. And that being said, I got that internship, and I got a blog writing one. My last internship is actually at an agency, which I'll talk about like in future reference if people are interested in hearing like what it's like working at an agency. A lot of those jobs I have to owe it to basically my portfolio and the mix of my portfolio and my blog, because yeah, I did the blog for me, but it was actually good for me to keep and have that and work on it and constantly keep developing it, because I always just loved blogging, always loved writing. But having that as an example of me, building my own website, and the format I write in, where there's a lot of imagery and it's not just words, made it even more enticing. But besides like having my blog, also having a actual portfolio, which was kind of built off of mostly digital layout class that I had first semester, and because of the professor, that's why I took design thinking. Now that I completed a certain amount, like one class in design thinking, I really couldn't bring anything out of it because that was like mainly group project work, but I'm sure like there's something I can find to work that out. I was in the process of another design, like 2 more design thinking classes, and both of those kind of added to my portfolio. And now I'm just trying to take everything from my stuff that I already made, like classwork that I felt like is the most prime example, to actual stuff from actual jobs and taking those and adding those to my digital portfolio. So for future jobs, because if I'm get started now, I feel like I'll have a lot more opportunities in the future. Doing things that aren't required actually helps if you're ever planning to do something with business, or just like trying to get a job that's like not more so in retail or services. Not that there's anything wrong with those jobs, it's just for me personally that when I was trying so hard to get a job, like in my freshman year, it just didn't work out. In high school, I really didn't do many jobs. I worked mainly over the summers, and unless you know people, like getting a job could be extremely, extremely difficult. I feel like I need a job where it's not so much interaction with customers. Like maybe I can handle like working with clients, because I feel like clients are a bit more respectful given that they're in still a business setting, but customers are not. And this is just from being one myself and just watching how some people interact. It's sad, but if you want to like actually get into the industry, I recommend like doing things that aren't required. So that's all my tips, my advice, and yeah, I hope you found this video to be like helpful, useful, especially if you're a business major. I know it's probably like kind of really boring, but I hope you find it useful. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Bye!